some way into the course, and we will begin to face some extremely challenging material in some of the following segments. These could very well challenge your worldview. In this segment, we'll look at the controversial theory put forward by David Icke, how the world is run by reptilians, and how they crossbred with humans to create powerful ruling bloodlines that exist today. Then in the following segments, we'll look at the testimony and material from a Zulu Sanusi, an African shaman and oral keeper of the history of the African people.
Over the last few years, as I've been trying to uncover how the world's controlled by a few people, which it is, and who those people are, it has emerged from my research that, bizarre as it may seem, a reptilian race from another world, interbred with humanity in the far ancient world, creating hybrid crossbreed bloodlines. You see references to these in the Old Testament and into endless of the ancient texts. In the Old Testament, it talks about the sons of God, which in the original is sons of the gods, plural, interbreeding with the daughters of men to create the hybrid race, the Nephilim. These gods were the literal gods of the ancient people, and they used to sacrifice people literally to the gods. And these crossbreed bloodlines, as ancient accounts tell around the world, were put into the positions of ruling royal power in the ancient world. And then, as is happening today, when you do the genealogy of the ruling families and the ruling positions of power in the world, be they the 42 presidents of the United States up to Bill Clinton, be they the British royal family, be the aristocracy of Europe, any of these key ruling elites, the top of the banking system, the top of the global business system, you hit the family lines which go back to these same ruling lines of the ancient world, royal lines, that the ancient accounts say were the crossbreeds between humanity and these reptilian gods. In other words, a reptilian extraterrestrial race has been controlling planet Earth for thousands of years to this day, and putting its genetic compatible bloodlines into the positions of power as presidents, prime ministers, banking leaders, business leaders, etc. And this explains so many things, where we get the divine right of kings from, the divine right to rule because of the bloodline, the genetics. Why these ruling families of the aristocracy and the royal families have always incessantly interbred with each other, just as the Eastern establishment families of the United States do, that produce so many presidents and banking leaders and administrators of government in the United States. And astonishingly, bizarre as I keep saying, and seemingly ridiculous as this story may be from our conditioned perspective of life and reality, when I started talking to Credo Mutwa from his African experience and knowledge of the most staggering depths and variety, he tells exactly the same story that I have uncovered around the world, exactly in great detail. And if Africa and the world is ever going to be free, and we are, then they have to listen to this man. And they have to listen now. I started out by talking to Credo about the origin of the knowledge that he is about to share with us for the first time in so many cases. Because this is the knowledge that only initiates normally get. But as Credo says, the world needs to know this. And so, this is a unique video. And this is a unique man. And like I say, I asked him first about the origin of the knowledge that he's about to pass on.
In this lecture, we have heard the theory of David Icke. In February 1991, Icke visited the pre-Inca Silustani burial ground near Puno, Peru, and whilst there he felt drawn to a large mound of earth at the top of which lay a circle of waist-high stones. He said his body started shaking as though plugged into an electrical socket, and new ideas began to pour into him. Then it started raining and the experience ended. He described it later as the Kundalini, a term from Indian yoga, activating his chakras or energy centers. triggering a high level of consciousness. He returned to England and began to write a book about the experience. Now for a summary of today's lecture. Icke's theory is widely believed to be a conspiracy theory. The historical, archaeological, and testimonial evidence appears to support Icke's theory to a large extent. Reptilians are said to be compatible with humans for procreation, or it might be that their genetic engineering made this possible in vitro. Reptilian bloodlines were put in position of power as proxies for the reptilians. Genealogy shows a substantial amount of people who are in power today, government, institutions, etc., are related to each other, i.e. the same bloodline.